And you're live.
Good morning, Summa Scholars. Today is
Morning.
welcome to the Daily Summa. Today is May 7th, and it is not morning, but we're in the spirit of the morning because this Beaver Galleon sails at dawn. And it's pre-dawn galleon, and we get out sailing. But as we've told you before, there's a lot going on, and it's hard for us to get everything on gear right now. How you doing, Joe? Say hi to the people.
Hello, people.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it's very strange sorting. The sorting hat is working right now in this town.
Okay. I don't know where you're going with that one.
Well, we don't know what's being pulled out. We don't know where we're I don't know where I'm situated, in what house I'm situated.
You're slithering, dude.
Huh?
You're slithering.
I actually did that online test.
Yeah.
And I was, whatever Harry's one is, Gryffindor.
You're Gryffindor, of course.
I'm wondering what you would be. I'm thinking Slytherin for you.
Wow.
Oh, you say it to me and it's fine, but I say it to you and it's wow. How could you? Have you ever done the test?
No, never.
I bet you're Slytherin.
I mean, right now.
I could. Let's do it while the Summa goes on. You take the Harry Potter test.
All right.
Do it.
All right, I will.
Get your results.
All right, I will.
But guys, do what Joe says, not what he does. You should be paying attention to the Summa here. Is there anything else we need to say to the fine folks? Because we're going to try to make this a short one again today. We've got things going. There's a family, beautiful wife, children upstairs waiting for food, dinner.
Yeah.
A lot going on today.
We got some action happening.
Today was a big day for you, Joe. I don't know if we want to share it, but
Nah.
But it was a big day.
It's a big day. It's a big good day, full of good things.
Things are turning around on this Beaver Galleon.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I've got hole. It almost looks purposeful.
Oh, look, I got hole.
Yeah, it almost looks purposeful, like one
You
of
could
those.
do that.
But it's
like
not.
You're a weird teenage girl, emotional problems.
Yeah.
You're covering up there, Greg.
Emuification. What you got in the old pipe there, Joe?
A little Balkan blend.
Oh, do you have enough to share with your friend Craig after?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had Balkan in a while. You know what? Fixed in my mind with Balkan is that hermitage I was in, the house, the beautiful farmhouse, because you had given me that tin, and I smoked it all through that time, and I was also Lent, so I wasn't eating,
right?
And so eating and just having that Balkan, it really resonated. Folks, we've got a, let's just say we have an exciting page today. Article 2, whether ideas are many or not. My guess is they're many.
Probably.
All right, let's just take off on it. If we want to pause, are you going to do the Harry Potter test?
I'm going to do my phone so I can do both at the same time.
Wow. I'm guessing Slytherin. Guys, in the comments, before you hear what he says, write in the comments, what do you think Joe is? I mean, Hufflepuff came into my mind, but I think you've got too much darkness.
Too much darkness in me? Okay.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's just go at the top of page 175 and see if we can sail through this page, this page, and then be out and go off and do our nightly tasks. I'll go ahead and start with the on contrary on the 174 in the bottom. On the contrary, Augustine says, we read this yesterday, but we'll repeat, getting back into the game. Ideas are certain principal forms or permanent and immutable types of things, they themselves not being formed. Thus, they are eternal and existing always in the same manner as being contained in the divine intelligence. Whilst, however, they themselves neither come into being nor decay. Yet, we say that in accordance with them, everything is formed that can rise or decay, and all that actually does. So interesting.
Like, we got a little chat. Hold on. See
I don't know if I ever really fully considered ideas as a separate thing in the mind of God. But I mean, obviously they must be. All of this it's amazing how much of this plays into this new kind of view of being that we talked about in my retreat. Because I don't want to say too much about it, but like, well, we'll talk about it afterwards. All right.
Poppy, we're not repeating the question. We're just picking up where we left off.
Indeed, we're just picking up where we left off.
That's it.
Okay, I answer that. It must necessarily be held that ideas are many, in proof of which it is to be considered that in every effect, the ultimate end is the proper intention of the principal agent, as the order of any army is the proper intention of the general. Remember, the telos is, as Dr. Theodore Rebard said, my teacher, who was the student of Dr. Peter Kreeft, Dr. Theodore Rebard at the University of St. Thomas in Houston, says, the end, the telos, the goal, is the indispensable principle of intelligibility. You've heard that before here. What your goal is informs everything you do throughout the act that you're acting in. And that's what's being repeated here. The ultimate end is the proper intention of the principal agent, which would be like Michelangelo, and his ultimate end is to make the David statue. Now, the highest good existing in things is the good of the order of the universe, as philosophers clearly teaches in the metaphysics. Therefore, the order of the universe is properly intended by God and is not accidental, and the accidental result of a succession of agents, as has been supposed by those who have taught that God created only the first creature, and that this creature created the second creature, and so on, until this great multitude of beings was produced. So that's interesting. That's kind of like, remember, we're back in the 1300s, so 1280s, I think, or something Thomas is writing. But already we have this idea that now is instantiated in nature. This is basically a spiritualized way of talking about Darwin's evolutionary survival of the fittest, even though there's not a survival of the fittest part, but it would work out that way. Because what this, and also Thomas is saying this was said before, so this seems to be going all the way back to Athens. The idea that God created a creature and then just let everything work. That second creature created another. And so everything just kind of moved in this random evolution of being from the original creature. And Thomas is saying, no, God had an intention and an idea of everything that exists. Things are existing according to a preset plan and idea in the mind of God. You are no accident, either material or spiritual accident. Okay, according to this opinion, God would have the idea of the first created thing alone, whereas if the order itself of the universe was created by him immediately and intended by him, he must have the idea of the order of the universe. So they're saying that the thing that he had in his mind is the intention of the order, but not the intention and idea of individual creatures. Now, there cannot be an idea of any whole unless particular ideas are had of those parts of which the whole is made. You can't just have an idea of a house and make a house without also having ideas of the particular each dimension, windows, shutters, joists, all the things you're making in the house. Just as a Just as a builder cannot conceive the idea of a house unless he has the idea of each of its parts. So then it must needs be that in the divine mind there are the proper ideas of all things. Hence, Augustine says that each thing, oh gosh, I've got Craig here, that each thing was created by God according to the idea proper to it, from which it follows that in the divine mind ideas are many. Now, it can easily be seen. How's that test going over there, Joe?
I'm working on it.
Now, it can easily be seen how this is not repugnant to the simplicity of God if we consider that the idea of a work is in the mind of the operator as that which is understood and not as imagined, where the image whereby he understands, which is a form that makes the intellect in act. Don't forget, people, put in the comments what house you think Joe is going to be from. What's the name of Harry's school?
Hogwarts.
Hogwarts. Which Hogwarts house? What's the question you just answered?
I finished.
Did you get the result?
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll. And I was right, wasn't I?
You're right.
Slytherin, of course you are,
You're
dude.
right.
My beautiful Slytherin friend.
I am a cutthroat son of a gun.
Yes, you are.
Can't deny it.
Gotta know when to rest, or know when to, what is it? No one to go in for the kill.
That's right.
Well, what's the other thing you said? The converse.
No one to be gentle.
No one to be gentle. No one to kill.
And be immediately gentle.
For the form of the house in the mind of the builder is something understood by him, to the likeness of which he forms the house in matter. Now, it is not repugnant to the simplicity of the divine mind. Ooh, here's where Thomas is going to try to explain the
Poppy gets Slytherin too.
The narwhal in the room. How can it be that God has multiple ideas in his mind? How does that juxtapose with divine simplicity? Thomas is addressing the elephant in the room now. Now, it is not repugnant to the simplicity of the divine mind that it understand many things, though it would be repugnant to its simplicity were his understanding to be formed by a plurality of images. So Thomas is saying, it's not that I don't mind. Thomas is saying, I don't mind a multiplicity of ideas in the mind of God. That doesn't bother the simplicity. What bothers the simplicity is if the images in his mind were formed by a plurality of, or the ideas were formed by a plurality of images in his mind. Though it would be repugnant to its simplicity, the divine simplicity, were his understanding to be formed by a plurality of images. The thing that makes divine simplicity is not that there isn't a multiplicity of some sort. It's if you try to say that a plurality of things forms the divine mind. Because, first of all, that's just illogical as God being a first cause, which we argued for with the 5 causes. The 5 proofs for the existence of God. If you have 2 things that exist, they must have a cause of them. Everything that exists has a cause. If you have 2 things that come together to form the mind of God, then you have to ask what created those 2 things, because those 2 things are coming together to form God's mind. You would have to then go back and say, from whence came those 2 things? That's what's repugnant to Thomas and to logic. What Thomas is saying, the divine mind is eternal and simple and already formed. It's not formed from 2 things. It's already eternally existing. But within that eternally existing mind, essence of God, he can see numerous ideas. Or numerous ideas are a manifestation of the divine essence. They're not forming the divine essence. Hence, many ideas exist in the divine mind as things understood by it, as can be proved thus, inasmuch as he knows his own essence perfectly. He knows it according to every mode in which it can be known. If you have a diamond is one thing, but a diamond has many facets that you can turn around and look at different facets. Or the old metaphor of the pygmy tribe, blind pygmy tribe, that kills an elephant, and they trap it. They dig a big pit. It catches the elephant in the bottom. They pull it out. They're blind. They've never caught an elephant before. One pygmy is up by his ear and he's yelling out, "What is it?" It's like a what are those things that go in the water with the wings?
Like a manta ray?
Manta ray. It's like a manta ray. He's feeling the ears of the elephant. The other one's like, "What are you talking about? It's like a snake." He's feeling the tail. Another one's like, "No, it's the tree trunk." He's feeling the foot of the elephant. Another one's like, No, it's like a long hose." He's feeling the nose. "No, it's a sharp, very hard pointed spear." He's feeling the tusk. So you have one thing, the mind of God, but there's many facets and expressions of that divine essence. And these are expressed in our world. Thomas is saying that many ideas of God can be expressed in our world, but it's essentially a plurality, but coming from a single mind of God. The ideas are an expression of his essence. Now, it can be known not only as it is in itself, but as it can be participated in by creatures according to some degree of likeness. But every creature has its own proper species, according to which it participates in some degree in the likeness of the divine essence. So far, therefore, as God knows his essence as capable of such imitation by any creature, he knows it as the particular type and idea of that creature, and in like manner as regards other creatures. So it is clear that God understands many particular types of things, and these are many ideas. Turning of the page. Turning of the page is sponsored by craigkinsey.locals.com. Run on over to craigkinsey.locals.com and sign up. Join our group. You'll get like videos and stuff. Maybe we'll do video tonight. Do a video tonight, perhaps, and also chats, and you can ask further questions and things. craigkinsey.locals.com. Turning of the page. All right, Mr. Slytherin, we're halfway through.
Yeah, baby.
Reply to objection 1. Here's what he says to Larry. The divine, this, I shouldn't even wear these. It's not even that cold right now. I just had them on. They're falling apart. The good thing we're coming into
Already falling
spring.
apart.
I know. Every time they fall apart there too. Maybe it's the ring. I wear that ring. I hadn't been wearing it because it's Easter. Reply to objection 1. The divine essence is not called an idea insofar as it is that essence, but only insofar as it is the likeness or type of this or that thing. Hence, ideas are said to be many, inasmuch as many types are understood through the self-same essence. It's kind of what I said before. There's one essence, and out of that one essence pours forth many ideas or facets of the divine nature. Our God is a very robust being with many facets. Reply to objection 2. Ralph. By wisdom and art, we signify that by which God understands, but not by wisdom and art we signify that by which God understands, but an idea that which God understands. For God by one understands many things, and that not only according to what they are in themselves, but also according as they are understood. And this is to understand the several types of things. In the same way, an architect is said to understand a house when he understands the form of the house in matter. But if he understands the form of a house as devised by himself, from the fact that he understands it, he thereby understands the type or idea of the house. I mean, that's just saying that God understands, just like an architect understands a house in the world, in matter, but he also understands that he has an idea of a house. He is self-reflective, and God also is able to, or is reflecting upon himself. I wonder if he's going to use that getting into the divine Trinity, that the Son is reflecting upon the Father, the essence, in the divine essence, which they all share. The Trinity shares one divine essence. They're reflecting upon each other in a loving embrace. Now, not only does God understand many things by his essence, but he also understands that he understands many things by his essence, as this means that he understands the several types of things, or that many ideas are in his intellect as understood by him. All right, objection 3. Such relations whereby ideas are multiplied are caused not by the things themselves, but by the divine intellect comparing its own essence with things. Such relations whereby ideas are multiplied are caused not by the things themselves, but by the divine intellect comparing its own essence with these things. Interesting. The divine essence is comparing himself. It's himself with things. That just sounds like justice and judgment. The final judgment, Christ is going to judge the world. All he need do is appear. Once you see clearly who he is, you're judged. You will see it and realize what you are. The problem is we have an ability to be blind to ourselves, and then certain things happen that are days of judgment, and you see the ugliness of yourself. I'll give you 2 examples. One more famous than the other. One is of a court with a defendant not realizing who the judge was, and that's a very famous video on YouTube. And the other one is of what's the guitarist's name from the 70s? Santana. Santana's driving down the road. There's video of this. Santana's driving down the road, and he sees a guy on the side of the road, and I think it's like, wait, stop. Pulls it over, and it's his old drummer from like a band from his hometown. Like the first guy he was like playing with. And this guy stopped working at the drums, you know, and wasn't good enough to go on and do big things. And Santana gets out of the van. He's like, hey, George, whatever it was. And when that guy sees him, he starts crying, and he realizes, I mean, he always knew that he could have been in Santana. But when the guy's standing in front of him, it became real to him. What I did not do, the practice I did not practice, the way I could have gone. When he sees Santana there with wealthy clothes and a limo or whatever it was, you know, nice vehicle, and then he sees it. That's a judgment day, and that's what will happen to all of us when Christ appears, each to the varying degree that we will immediately know that what we could have been and done and what we lost. The other one is that famous video of the defendant in the court, and the female judge does the whole court thing. And this also is very illustrative for the disciples and apostles not recognizing Jesus after the resurrection. This guy had sat there and went through the whole court thing. I mean, it was a civil court, so it wasn't like a day stretched out murder case. It was just a civil thing. He had done some wrong, stolen something or something. And he's up in front of this judge. They go through the whole thing. They talk back and forth. He looks at her. And then at the end of it, she goes, were you in this certain school? Remember that one? And he goes, yeah. And then she says his name, I think, almost like Jesus saying Mary. And that's when that kid realizes that he knew her, and that back when he used to be a good boy. And this is getting me emotional, but she's like, what happened, you know? And then he breaks down and starts weeping. And because it's judgment day, he immediately realizes what he fell from. And that is what we will experience as soon as you see Jesus. You're not going to have to go through a big, long court case. As soon as you see, you will just realize what you did and didn't do, and all the choices you put off, and what you haven't accomplished, and what you could be, and what you could have been. Judgment day in an instant, at a glance. All he has to say is your name. Reply to objection 4. Relations, multiplying ideas, do not exist in created things, but in God, yet they are not real relations, such as those whereby the persons are distinguished, but relations understood by God. God is understanding relations, how things can be compared to one another, but the divine persons are actually in personal relationship with one another. All right, Article 3, whether there are ideas of all things that God knows. Are there ideas of all things that God knows? Now, we're only going to get the objections today. How are we doing on time?
23 minutes.
Ooh, it's going to be good. We're going 25. It's good. Get up to dinner. Let your family eat.
Yeah, dude.
And then get to our... Is Poppy coming tonight?
I don't know. Poppy, you should come tonight.
Poppy, you should come tonight. Joe's house, 7 p.m. Airplane. Objection 1. It seems that there are no ideas in God of all things that he knows. For the idea of evil is not in God, since it would follow that evil was in him. But evil things are known by God, therefore there are not ideas of all things that God knows. Obviously, we're going to have to remind him, evil's a deprivation of being. Remember the paper I held up with the hole poked through it? Objection 2, further, God knows things that neither are, nor will be, nor have been, as has been said above in Article 9. But of such things there are no ideas, since, as Dionysius says, acts of the divine will are the determining and effective types of things. Therefore, there are not in God ideas of all things known by him. Remember, these are questions, objections. Thomas is going to answer these. These are not the answers. Just remember that, people, if you're watching. These are not right. These are Larry, Ralph, Shimon, and Reuben asking questions of Thomas. And then tomorrow he's going to answer them and show how their questions are all convoluted and wrong. Objection 3. Further, God knows primary matter of which there can be no idea, since it has no form. Hence, the same conclusion. Shimon's going to try to be all pithy. I mean, not pithy. He's going to try to be terse, like Thomas is, and just go, boom. Hence, the same conclusion. Objection 4. Further, it is certain that God knows not only species, but also genera, singulars, and accidents. But there are no ideas of these, according to Plato's teaching, who first taught ideas, as Augustine says. Therefore, there are, he says, as Plato, who first taught ideas, use the first one, he's the one who made it up. Therefore, there are no ideas in God of all things known by him. All right, we'll hit the meat of that one tomorrow. Guys, this is the Daily Summa. We do this thing daily. This galleon sets sail daily. Are we close to 80 episodes in? We're getting there.
Yeah, tomorrow, if my number is correct, tomorrow would be 80.
We may not do a whole big decade party thing, but maybe we should do a 100th episode, some kind of celebration. 100 episodes.
Yeah, we'll get something nice to drink, maybe.
Maybe something nice to drink. Margaritas.
Want to do margaritas?
100th episode margarita.
Yeah, that's good.
Bam.
That's good.
I'm glad you could be here.
Poppy can't make it tonight. Steve says, enjoy the movie, and then he quotes, looks like I picked a bad day to give up sniffing glue.
Quote from Airplane.
I assumed. All right.
All right, guys, this is All Straw. Go pray. Love you all. Bye.